he goes back to the womb. It's an ingenious move. Darwin compares anatomical drawings of different unborn animals. This is a 4-week-old human embryo. It has gill arches and a tail just like a fish. Here is another 4-week-old embryo Darwin studies. A dog. It has a tail, but it also has gill arches. The dog embryo is uncannily similar to the human one, but they turn into very different creatures. All embryos have features which have no function in later life, but are shared across a range of animal groups. For Darwin, these vestiges are powerful evidence of our shared ancestry. Embryology is to me by far the strongest single class of facts in favour of change of forms. Just as all domesticated pigs can be traced back to a single ancestor, so all mammals can be traced back to a single earlier vertebrate. Darwin argues that all life can be traced back to a single point of origin. This is the underlying meaning of Darwin's tree of life, sketched many years before. All life on Earth is related, and its beginnings can be found in what he calls a warm little pond, the origin of all species. Darwin's achievement is to explain how life evolved through natural selection. And this is why he is the greatest biologist of all time. But we nearly didn't get to hear about it.
Darwin outlines his theory and then hides the manuscript in a cupboard underneath his stairs. He's terrified of the reaction if he publishes. After all, he's sure his theory explains life on Earth without the need for God. Darwin is also a perfectionist, and he thinks that his ideas can be improved with just one more experiment or one more observation. In the end, he doesn't choose to publish, he's forced to.
Here's what happened. In the early summer of 1858, a young naturalist working in the tropics, Alfred Russel Wallace, sends Darwin a draft of a paper for his opinion. Darwin is horrified by what he reads, because Wallace has come up with the same theory, evolution through natural selection. Panic-stricken, Darwin writes to a friend, "I never saw a more striking coincidence. If Wallace had my manuscript sketch written out in 1842, he could not have made a better short abstract." All that research, all that waiting, and now the credit for his life's work is about to go to someone else. It seems particularly harsh on Darwin. Wallace's theory is still in its infancy. Darwin has toiled for nearly 2 decades to back up his theory with observations and experiments. Darwin's friends suggest a solution. Later that same year, an outline of Darwin and Wallace's ideas on evolution are presented in a joint paper at a small scientific meeting in London. Remarkably, those present failed to grasp the full implications of the theory. Now Darwin feverishly turns his manuscript and experiments into a book. It takes him 16 months. This time he is determined the world will take notice. On the 24th of November 1859, Darwin finally publishes On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. All the investigations we've recreated are in there. Seeds in salt water, the chalk cliffs, cats, bees and mice, the weed patch. In the book, Darwin lays out his detailed scientific argument that we've followed, to show that life on Earth evolves through the mechanism of natural selection, without God. The book cost 15 shillings. It will change the world forever.
After a quarter of a century of hard work and anxiety, Darwin had finally presented his theory to the world, but he still was not satisfied. He knew that there were gaps in his argument that his critics would pounce on. So true to form, Darwin goes back to the laboratory.
In the next episode, Darwin plunges into another round of investigations. He tries to find out why peacocks have such long tails, and how orchids have sex. And these experiments lead to the biggest question of all: how have humans evolved? Darwin provokes a storm of controversy that still rages to this day.
To get your free Tree of Life poster and to find out more about Charles Darwin and Open University programmes on the BBC, phone 0845 300 8854 or go to bbc.co.uk/Darwin.